kid from India, the kid from Indonesia is only about 2 hops away from a US node, and he can get into or she can get into this node very easily. Not only that, unlike the the Cold War, when we were in a Cold War situation, the barrier to entry was very high. So the US and other countries, including EU, including Russia, basically had this notion of classified infrastructure, right? So there were these projects that were secret, top secret, super top secret. We had spies running around spying on each other, right? And the reason all of that worked was the barrier to entry was very high. You could not create a centrifuge by investing $1 million. You needed a whole lot of technologies to create a centrifuge, which you needed to enrich uranium and so on and so forth. Unfortunately, in this day and age, the barrier to entry for ICT is about $500. All you need is a laptop somewhere. You have access to the World Wide Web. You can go download scripts. You can create as much havoc as you want, and no problem, right? So what that tells you is two things, I think. One is that when governments think about investing in ICT and R&D, they have to make it more open than they have made research and development in the past. It is not the same as developing nuclear technology. It's not the same as developing missile technology. This technology, the more open it is, the more smart people who have access to it, the better it will be, right? And secondly, it tells you that security suddenly is not a US responsibility, an EU responsibility, a Japanese responsibility. It's not a responsibility only of the rich economies, even though they have a lot more to lose. It is a collective responsibility. The weakest link in this chain is the poorest economy in the world, right? Who may not have money to invest, but some of their people could cause a bad problem for everybody else. So why am I telling you all of this? So as I look at the security scenario or the scene in this world, all of these governments are talking to each other, and they're kind of checking the box. Saying, oh yeah, I India talk to US, I India talk to UK, I UK talk to France, and so on and so forth. We need a little bit more than that. And I think a group like yours, where you, the company people, have a vested interest in ICT technologies, partly because of your own business and partly because you're citizens of this world, unless you get together and speak up and work with your governments to force them to work with other governments, it is not going to be as effective as I think it needs to be, right? And that's a very important, it's a passion of mine, and that's why I've gone around the world, like building campuses, mainly focused on ICT, mainly focused on cybersecurity. And in that context, I'm going to take 30 seconds and tell you about this campus we are trying to do in Rwanda. We are trying to build a center of excellence in Rwanda. Now you might say, why Rwanda? You know, it's one of the poorest nations. The average income there is $900 per person, per capita. But that's not as bad as their total government budget is $1.5 billion. 1.5 billion, right? There are like 5,000 companies in this country that have like more revenues than 1.5 billion. Out of that $1.5 billion, 50% is donor money. This is money that the British government gives them, the EU gives them, the US gives them. So it's $750 million total money they have internally. And they have this view of the world where they have zero natural resource, and what they really want to do, the government, the president is a real visionary, I think. I've gotten to know him over the last couple of years. Use ICT as a means for economic development in the country. And the only way to do that is to have a state-of-the-art university come and build a program, build courses, start creating graduates so that the Googles, the Ciscos, the IBMs, the AT&Ts can start putting little shops out there and employing these people, right? So that's the latest, hottest, my most recent hot button that I've been excited about. And the other thing, and then I'm going to stop because I see you guys are nodding off. Maybe you should be asking questions. So while I make the case, so the underlying theme of what I said, even though I use ICT as an example, was the role of the American Research University and what it has done for this country. It is not the only thing, but I think it's a very important piece, and to replicate that model in other places. Now, I say that with a little bit of trepidation because as soon as this model is replicated somewhere else, it just causes more competition for this country. And then as dean, I have to worry about what do these 75,000 kids that we graduate every year are going to do, because India and China are going to graduate like 750,000 kids every year. So they're going to totally subsume us, right? I mean, that's a legitimate fear. So every so often, we academics also think about business models and how we're going to refine our business model. So one of the things we at Carnegie Mellon have been doing is thinking about this next generation of engineer who should be able to enable, manage, and deploy innovation in multilingual, multicultural environments. And what that means is, over the course of our history, if you look at, so let me ask one more question. Textile industry, car industry, semiconductor industry, shoe industry, what do you find? Anything common between these industries? Yeah, fine, they're all gone, but the most important thing is we created them, we owned them, we dominated them. And it's not like they're all gone. We let them go because we found the next better thing to do. So the reason I tell you this is, again, in the context of this university research model, I'm saying, while I'm proposing the creation of this American Research University concept outside, I also know what our next step has to be. So I'm not quite losing sleep thinking, oh, if these guys create it, I'm going to be out of business. I know where I'm going to be next while they're creating it. We'll be at the next level in the food chain. Having said that, I can tell you I'm really bullish about what Phil Bond, you and your people are doing. I'm really bullish about what this country is doing. I think we will keep on dominating innovation, at least for a little while more. But I think dominating is good, but controlling is not good. And I think we as a world, all the countries have to work together to make it happen right for all of us, because there's a whole lot at stake right now. So thank you very much, and apologize if I took longer than I should have.